Hello, everyone. Here, Gabby Salas at Brands with a Purpose, and we are very excited to host my dear husband, Marvin Cook. And he's going to be here talking to us about the experience on his end, on how it is to be an entrepreneur, and at the same time, how he has been such a crucial part of my business and supporting me at home as well. So welcome, honey. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you. Hello, everyone. And as we go through our discussion here regarding our business life together, how we put our plan in motion, and what's become of it so far, and how we continue to move forward.
So I invited you because it was very important for me to answer a lot of people's questions. So you know how I'm a social butterfly, and every time that I go out, people tell me, how is for your husband to be part of all these entrepreneurial lifestyle? And one of the things that I have noticed is so amazing to have somebody that literally lifts you up when you feel struggling. And I want to answer those type of questions that I have gotten in the past. So, for you, Marvin, tell us a little bit about your experience, because I know that you're a very knowledgeable guy. I tell everybody that you're like a book with feet, like just walking around because you know so much. But how that knowledge has helped you develop yourself, and now that we're in this marriage and with our children and everything, how has that been of play, when it comes to supporting myself in our business?
Sure. Well, first, it's both a blessing and a curse for me, because, you care about someone and you want them to succeed, but also you want to be realistic and, not overdo any one of the business decisions that you make, regarding any part of it. You want to have both feet planted on the ground, but not take away the entrepreneurial spirit that you need when you're creating something, whatever that may be. So there's there's a measured approach to that.
Yeah.
But as far as the support goes, you have to be willing to, help out whatever it takes.
Wouldn't you say that that it's probably even better because you know me so well that you can see me when I'm getting confused or stressed out, or you can also see when I'm struggling with certain things, or even like language barriers, because we both speak Spanish, todos hablamos español en la casa, but when it comes to business, there's certain lingo that I'm like, oh, what does that mean? That's also something that you have been very supportive on the way, because again, I like, you understand my well-being in every single sense of the word.
Yeah, and that's what I was referring to as being positive, and yet understanding the aspects of, as a customer of Brands with a Purpose or any other business, what in dealing with a CFO or dealing with another C-level person, what they expect for us to deliver as a business, as a partner, as their provider. What are some of the things that they're going to expect us to do, and how we should operate. You're very business savvy, so I don't think there's a lot of barriers there. But I think where my expertise is lying is I always think of how this is going to be accepted on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
What they're going to want to hear from us, what the expectation is to deliver. If I pay you X, I get Y, and this is what I need. So that is, again, it's a challenge that we walk, because there is an entrepreneurial spirit that you don't want to take away. You want to be able to deliver a business solution, but you don't want to take away something that is going to work for us as a company.
Yeah, and like I tell most of the my friends and clients, is like, you ground me, right? You hold my feet tight, and because when you're a visionary, and probably you in the audience, you can feel, when you're a creative mind, your mind goes everywhere, and you want to do it all, and you feel that you can approach, like everything that appears in your head, and I can see it popping in, like different clouds above my head. But one of the things that I tell people is like, if I didn't have you, my focus will be diverted in so many different ways. And that's the greatness of our marriage as well, is, we complement each other. We're very different from each other, but that also helps us bring the best of ourselves. And, for me, it's sometimes it's difficult to differentiate home from business, because my head is always business mind, right? Like, my brain is always like rolling with the business, and I wake up and I ask a business question, and I'm very business minded, and it's sometimes hard for me to shut that off or turn it off. How do you feel about that? Like, when is home? How do you interact? And when do you say, like, okay, this is office, and, we should not be dealing with that? Because I commend you for that, because you're good at that. I'm not, but it helps us.
Yeah. So I think what I think of is, obviously, a business never shuts down. We're business owners. We are of a mindset that this is how we're going to make a living. This is how we're going to support ourselves. We are, that's always there. But there's a time that we have to throttle back from that and, deal with everyday life stuff.
Yeah.
And that you can't always be in that mode, thinking just about the business. Obviously, I don't think that's a secret to anyone. It's just that sometimes it's hard to, especially when the business is yours, especially when you're getting it off the ground, especially when you're trying to keep to a schedule or whatever the case may be for a client, that you again have to downshift from that for life. But I think the way I handle it is, there's a time, to get everything completed. Whether you do it in that time period or not, based on the circumstances, is always a bit of a challenge. But you can have an idea that if your daughter's soccer time and so there's a game going on, or you have to take her to practice, whatever. This is what I'm marked off as. This is blocked for that.
Yeah, and people, so we do fight. And what is hilarious about us is that we can fight, but that's not going to interfere within, what we're doing. So it's even funny because you can hear us. And I don't know if you noticed that. Well, of course you have, but we're fighting. And sometimes that language barrier that I was mentioning before comes up. I'm like, he tells me something that I don't understand, and he's yelling, and we're in the midst of like that big fight, and I'm like, excuse me, what does that mean? And then he stops everything and he explains to me, and then like, oh, okay, and then we continue the fight. That's actually really funny. Yeah, but that's how we do it also in the business, right?
It's a bit sitcom-y, sitcom based there. But the idea is, again, time and place for everything. Obviously, when the business is yours, whatever business it is, if you're a landscaper and you didn't finish everything in a 6-day period, you're working that 7th day.
Yeah.
If you're a marketing specialist and you're building websites for people and you're trying to get that company to get some optimization for Google or whomever, all those things are going to take time. All those things are going to cause some overlap with just everyday life. But, you have to, find the happy balance and, find a medium space for the things that are really important, like, dinners or whatever the case may be. Every family has, their own things that they're finding more important than others.
So one of the things that made me fall deeper and deeper in love with you is the fact that you have no disrespect for a woman that is, independent. You actually encourage that, and you really bring out that part of, of the relationship. Like, it's really important to me because you don't mind if I have to go to a meeting. You're not questioning. You give me my space to, hours and hours of planning. You let people come over the house and just hang out because that that's important to me as far as like, getting some people on board on what I'm doing. even yourself, like you bring your ideas, your suggestions, you're part of it as well. What would you tell some of the other husbands, other boyfriends, other parents that have person that is very business driven, that has a dream and wants to take over the world, and and they feel jealousy, because there's a lot of jealousy sometimes. There's some people that also, whether it is a woman or a man, they feel that if you make more money or less money, that's also it's a struggle. What would you tell our audience and our friends, the best suggestion of dealing with us in this certain way?
The first thing I would say that, that's a pretty complex, scenario as a whole. But the first thing I would say is, are you in?
Yeah.
Are you bought into the idea that this is what is going to happen? And until you put your head around that, the rest of it is not going to be that easy. But once you are, and I could see how passionate you were about Brands with a Purpose and what that meant to you personally. So it was easy for me to get behind it and do what I needed to do to get there. Secondly is, because we were doing this together, that I already had that mentality that we were going to accomplish this, and that it was something that was going to be better for both of us, and so it was easier to jump in. If the perspective was a different mentality, if I ran my own business, that was another doing something else, that might have caused some issues. I can certainly see where it may, for the things that you mentioned. But I would say to not have that happen, people have to have honest conversations about what they want to do, why they're doing it, what the plan is, how do we land on our feet if this doesn't work?
So, it comes to mind, with our conversation this morning, that I always say, this is our business, and you tell me, no, this is your business. Most people would never do that. They will not like to hand the power, even if they're giving it to you, right? So why is it that way? Why are you telling me, no, it's your business and I'd rather have it that way? Why are you in that mindset?
Yeah, I think for me personally, because of the environments that I come from, team sports, the sales teams that I've either managed or worked on or whatever the case may be, there's a boss. There's someone as a figurehead. There's an ultimate decision maker. And so the way I look at it is there's got to be someone that makes the final call. It may not be on everything.
Oh, we know that.
But there's got to be somebody that makes the call on it.
Yeah.
So I, because I know how personally you took creating this company, that you invested so much of your not just time, but really your spirit and what you wanted the company to mean.
Yes.
And the reasons you did it. So I just don't feel comfortable saying that this is a 50-50, even though, we make a lot of decisions together.
Yeah.
I don't think it would behoove us in this particular instance to not acknowledge all that.
So, for those that are listening and don't know us and don't know our dynamic, we come from very different backgrounds. Marvin was born here in the U.S., in Boston. I'm from Mexico City. I come from a very Catholic and, how do you say it, matriarchal? Yeah, matriarchal type of family where, the woman usually is the one that makes decisions. And, in Marvin's case, he lived with his mother, who was a single mom, so he understands that dynamic. But for those who don't have that experience, I really empower you, and I give you the challenge to go out and let yourself, be the support of that woman or that husband, and back off a little bit. Not meaning, like you're gonna stop doing what you're doing. Just like admiring that person from the back a little bit, so you can see how you can better help. Rather than just trying to control, because I hear lots of stories on how like they're passionate and they say, Gabby, I am so passionate, but my husband doesn't even believe in what I believe. He thinks that I'm just playing around, or he thinks that I'm not smart enough to make it happen, or that's like just a dream and it's never gonna become reality. So one of the things that I want to make sure that our friends and our people know is that that's why Brands with a Purpose comes for, because I want that purpose, that impact in other people's lives to come through. And the most important thing in my case is my family, and that's what has inspired me to grow and create this big dream of mine that I've had for many years. What's interesting is that before I always had the fear of not succeeding, but today I don't feel that at all. I feel so blessed because I feel empowered. I feel confident. I feel, when you give me ideas and you're involved and we work together, and the kids see that too. I think that, we're really also teaching that environment at home of like, oh, mommy and daddy work together, and we're collaborating. And even though they see us discuss certain things and they're like, oh, are you guys fighting? No, we're not fighting. We're discussing and we're negotiating, right? So those people that haven't had the opportunity to give that support, I challenge you really to go out there and try it, because I believe that also giving support makes you feel even better that when you're being supported. What do you think?
I think you're right on both points. The one thing that makes me the happiest is seeing you, even when it's the littlest step. You get one more client, you accomplish one more goal. In laying out the plan, not just for Brands with a Purpose, but the plans that we create for our customers. That as we're going through the gears on these things and we're checking off the boxes, that you're seeing it live.
Yes.
And that's those are the small things that I like to take the time to appreciate, because it's not the easiest in accomplishing these things. It's not easy for somebody to say yes to having us as a partner. It's not easy to accomplish. We don't do cookie cutter projects. We don't.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't do we don't do small things sometimes. So there are all those little boxes that we check off, all those steps that we take, and seeing that when we come out the other side of them, that there's you being proud of it, me being proud of it, and we're proud of each other, and we're proud of the people on our team and what the.
But what's most important? We say it.
Yeah. We
do say it, and when like certain things that as little as like, oh, I was able to get that client, you'll be like, oh my God, that's amazing. How did you do it? And I'm proud of you. Or when we have make mistakes, we also say, geez, it was my bad, I'm sorry, and we try to correct it. So communication has been a bigger part of it. So I think in this case, if we're challenging our friends to do that, to be supportive of each other, also we challenge you to express that gratitude, because we're very keen to just jump in and judge and assume and just accuse and critique something, right? Just like, oh yeah, it was your fault, or you did it, or it's because you didn't know how to do it. But what if we, instead of looking at that side, we say like, geez, she had the courage to go out there and risk it. Oh my God, I would not be able to do something like that. But I'm glad and bravo, she did it the same way with me. Like, oh my God, I'm talking to my husband, who's a gym fanatic, that, even hurt and injured and with surgery, he will wake up and go to the gym. I'm like, to me, it's like sick because I would not do that. But that's encouraging to me, because that gives me another reason to continue to be better, because if he's hurting and he's injured and he's still going, that means that I have no excuse. So instead of saying like, whoa, you're crazy, why are you going to the gym? It's like, oh my God, I admire that. Like your drive and like your energy to put yourself through that pain.
Yeah,
So
you're standing behind not just a company, but we stand behind each other to push where it needs to be pushed, listen to when needs to be listened, listen to what needs to be listened to help discover, what, for me, the things that I like to do for you is in the business capacity is to, if there's an area that I think, something might be falling through the cracks, is to not just say, hey, that's going to fall through the cracks, but make sure that it doesn't fall through the crack.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback and, just, say, oh, you should have turned left when you turned right. But that doesn't really help anything. You can have those discussions afterwards. We can develop a process for making sure it doesn't happen again.
Improvements, yeah.
But, the fact of the matter, it still needs to get done when it, while it's going on. And it doesn't do anybody any good to stop the process and say, hey, you made a bad decision. Yeah. So the idea is, be supportive, offer those, sometimes it's just the ear to listen to, so to let somebody vent. Other times it's
taking care of the kids.
Yeah.
Could be, that simple thing. Like sometimes I'm on the phone grinding and you're cooking. And that to me means so much, because it's not him, trying to make the deal, or he sees the effort that I'm making, and just looking around and the kids being happy and him cooking. And then when I'm done with that phone call, we can have a nice home dinner, a family dinner. It would not happen if you were just like, well, it's her business, it's her problem, and she's the one that has to do it all, or vice versa, right? Yeah. I can just leave it up to you and like, oh, you go work, and then I'll just do whatever I have to do, get my nails done or whatever. So I think it's a partnership overall within the marriage. And what I like what I want people to hear and to take away from this is that it's okay. You can do it, and you can try it. So with this, I thank you, honey, for everything.
I thank you
for being with me, in this journey, and for coming to the show.
Yeah, so. And we will be supplying podcasts and producing podcasts through different segments, talking about different business entities that we work with. Sometimes it's going to be the ideas that we have. It's going to be Gabby's vision with different topics as we go through, and we hope that you pick up something from it, and get some. We get a lot of positivity from the things that we do, and things that people tell us, and we try to impart that. And I know Gabby's so super excited about producing these and having people follow along on our journey. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I commend you to keep going, to keep fighting that fight of entrepreneurship. It's not easy, but you can do it. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And remember, this is about finding your purpose and impacting the world. So keep searching.